All right, Battletech enthusiasts, the classic question in Battletech: what is the Alpha Strike? How do we utilize it? And we're going to open this one up for the comments. What mech really Alpha strikes well from this possibility? What are some of those machines that just do it so well? So there's this idea in Battletech that as we go back and forth, one could say, and I'm not the best mech commander for this because I always push this, and if there's glory on the tabletop immortality is mine to take. Heat management. Heat is vital because as you build up heat, not only does it slow your mech down, it adds modifiers to hit. It starts interfering with the systems. You can shut down. You can cook off the ammo. Inner Sphere Battletech, kind of the classic implementation of it before we get to the clans, heat management is vital. A lot of machines run really, really hot. There are a couple of hidden gems in there where you can push the heat or don't have to really worry about heat, but for the most part, you're not baking off, zapping off multiple shots every turn and multiple PPCs every turn. You get into clans, that's a different story because heat management is there, but not really. We're just going to footnote and put the clans aside for a moment. They can Alpha Strike too, and there's a couple that do it really, really well. But let's just focus Inner Sphere because it doesn't come easy. So the Alpha Strike idea is that you fire everything in one blaze of glory with the idea that you are going to cripple or destroy your opponent so they cannot strike back at you. We're just literally going to press all the buttons at once, unclick the fail safe, and just blast away. The challenge with this is that if you fail, not only depending on the mech can you blow up and cook yourself off, you're going to shut down at worst. At best, you're going to be massively crippled for next turn. And if there's multiple targets around you, or you don't damage that other mech and maybe it plays a little bit more conservatively, you're in a lot of trouble. So it's something to keep in mind, something we want to leverage. But when do you do it? So let's talk about on the way in. And of course, going against a mech with a lot of armor or even a medium mech, I don't want to Alpha Strike right off the bat. I want to soften things up. I want to weaken things up with my opponent. Ideally, I would like to have a left or right torso crit spot opened. I'd like to breach some armor. So now the opposing mech is beat up a little bit, but they have to worry about the possibility of a crit. If there's ammo in there or other things that could be important, all the better. That's when I start to really consider the Alpha Strike. The second aspect of that is what else is going on around me. It doesn't exist one-on-one. I mean, there are a couple of battles that might be one-on-one, but I'm willing to risk pushing that Alpha Strike if I'm not completely surrounded, if I'm not completely outnumbered from that perspective. Other things ideally would like to be happening and going on. A couple of lance mates supporting me or lance mates skirmishing with other type of mechs. That's pushing it from that perspective. And then finally, before we get into any type of mechs, I want to be in range for all of my shots. First mech that comes to mind, Marauder. It's going to be either the Marauder or the Warhammer if you've been following me for any amount of time. From that perspective, I'm not really Alpha Striking firing those two PPCs and the autocannon. I mean, I'm firing a lot. I'm building heat that I can't clear. If I'm going to Alpha Strike, I want to be in range with everything. I want to be in range with the lasers. I want to be in range with the PPCs. I want to be in range with the autocannon. If I had a mech with LRM missiles or the PPCs and I'm under the minimums, then I'll fire it too. I really, really want to be close enough to fire off potentially every type of weapon, with the idea being I'm going to cause catastrophic damage or I am going to absolutely penetrate, break through, roll for crit, confirm, see what can happen. Now, occasionally, this is where things get really, really interesting. Light mechs, you got to watch out. Light mechs, they want to run and gun. They want you to waste those shots, build up heat, expend ammo. They don't really want to get tagged, but I know never say never. certain light mechs, if I shut down and that light mech is around, I'm okay. What's it really going to do? It's going to get one turn at me. It's probably not going to be able to breach rear armor. Even if it gets back there, it's going to kick me. Okay, that's not going to do much. If I'm a heavy or an assault. It could punch me. It probably will try to punch me. Maybe I'll fail that check if it hits me 1 and 6 in the head and go night-night. I mean, things could happen. But that's an example of if there's a light mech and I can get away with it, I might alpha strike. If I'm a stalker or I've got some bite to it, if I'm a Warhammer and I alpha strike a light mech and push that heat, I will most likely destroy, cripple, blow a leg off, have it do the chicken jump, just something to that effect. I might risk it. Okay, times when you have to alpha strike. And now this is out of the rules, or it might not be in the complete spirit of the game, depends on the narrative. We've talked about this idea, having a mech is rare. It's not only an elite status, but it assures that elite status. You have no mech, you're in the ranks of the dispossessed. You have to consider in the narrative, it's not just you. It's your family, it's your cousins, it's your brothers, it's your nephew that you got a job as some tech doing absolutely nothing. Like everyone is going to be dumped out on the line, joining the infantry in the ranks of the dispossessed. So we reflect this in the narrative, especially since certain mechs cannot be replaced or they're not being manufactured, or if you have a mech to repair it, it might be repaired with lower or primitive tech. Force withdrawal. One of the ways to play in the rules, and there's a lot of great ways, different ways to play Battletech, is as soon as you take internal damage or critical damage, your mech starts backing off the field, starts pulling back. You have to exit closest table edge possible, but you're allowed to shoot and you're allowed to backpedal as you do that. The idea that you will withdraw. Now, most of my Battletech games, they're pretty bloody. We play fighting to the very end, mech to mech. Occasionally I'll withdraw, but we kind of agree ahead of time and say, hey, are we playing with force withdrawal or are we not? If it's clans, are we playing with clan duels and honor or are we not? And interesting side note, it had been a while since I played the clans and I was just kind of in autopilot mode. So we're playing with the clan rules, issuing challenges against Desgra, Intersphere Mech Warrior pilots, and Intersphere can kind of do whatever they want, to balance out the tech because it kind of assumes that. And I've got a summoner that there's this spider running towards me, spider mech. And I'm like, I'm going to zap this spider. So without thinking, because I think it's like Intersphere, I'm on autopilot, I shoot. And my opponent, he's like, okay, so you issued that challenge. You shot at that spider, challenge issued. Now, like the rest of the game, and that's the rules. We're the clans. So I'm trying to shoot this spider. My opponent's like, well, battle value, I'm winning. I'm just going to kite the whole table, the whole game. And I'm trying to track this thing down and I can't even add some support on it. So I'm trying to maneuver. I'm trying to trash talk to get that spider pilot to kind of break honor or do something dishonorable. And just, it was kind of crazy. So I do encourage you to embrace that narrative, even if it's not always the most optimal. But this goes back to the Alpha Strike example. One of the mercenary companies that I play, the Dogs of War, honor is at stake, reputation is at stake, and we either succeed at the mission or not. I mean, that's one of the ways that we justify the salvage rights and higher sea bills that we collect. So all of the ejection seats have been removed from my mechs. There is no retreat. There is no retreat. I had a stalker that was surrounded, and it was holding its ground. It was holding its ground as the rest of my forces, they grabbed some informant and were running away. So this stalker is there just taking the brunt of House Davian, like everything firing at it. And it had gone to internals. I'm smoking, I'm burning. As it is, it's probably not going to survive the battle. I mean, never say never. These machines are capable of taking tremendous amounts of punishment. But I'm sitting there saying, okay, crunch the numbers. I've got maybe three or four more turns if I'm on average. If I'm really lucky, 5 or 6, I'm hurt. And even if I go 5 or 6 more turns, this mech is not going to be repaired. The salvage is just too much. I mean, weapons are falling out of their slots. It's just absolutely crazy. So I say to myself, well, I've still got some bite left before things go really internal, because the Stalker's got a lot of different weapon systems, and it starts really knocking out weapon systems. Let's do it. Let's light this up. Let's make it happen. So I get to point blank range, literally 1 hex away, and I fire everything. I smoked that Battlemaster. Battlemaster was up too. I smoked that Battlemaster. I exploded that Battlemaster. It was just like absolutely glorious. But I had jacked up so much heat. I didn't even dump ammo. It's like, okay, maybe I could have dumped the ammo, except for one single shot, alpha strike everything dry. But then maybe my opponent would have known. I was like, no, we're just gonna go out in a blaze of glory. I just exploded. And if you really look, I know a number of you play with house rules. If you really look at the ammo explosions internal, like you don't even have to calculate it. The idea is you've got a bin of machine gun ammo and it like guts and explodes an entire mech. I mean, I had racks and racks of missiles on there. The whole thing just absolutely exploded. I think the only thing that would have been left, and we calculated the damage and did the transfer out because we were just curious. It was like nothing left. Maybe there's just like 2 treads on the ground and like a smoking crater. But that narrative aside, and it was a lot of fun to go out in that blaze of glory, one less stalker in the inner sphere. There are times if you are playing and you are really, really damaged, you got to kind of look and make that assessment and say, okay, how many more turns can I reasonably last? And what's my damage output if I'm conservative at that? And of course, maybe you're not just standing there. You're backpedaling. You're trying to get terrain. You're trying to get angling so not everyone can engage you at once. I mean, there are tactical aspects. But if you feel like, hey, make the call. Make the call. If you feel like, I don't think I'm going to last another turn or two, do you have a mech that can deliver that alpha? Okay, jumping into the comments now, and we all have our favorite mechs. Certain machines are better suited with the spread of weapons for alpha striking type scenarios versus other mechs. Okay, 2 examples. We're going to go with the higher weight class. Stalker can alpha strike. Absolutely. The Awesome, can it alpha strike? Yeah, it's got 3 PPCs, but that's not really a ton of alpha strike. That's I want to put out 4, 5, 6, 8 or more, 10 shots and see the damage that I can do. Side note, has anyone ever alpha striked with something like a Battlemaster or a mech with rear facing weapons, firing everything forward primary, firing rear as secondary? And has anyone ever been able to pull that one off in the game?